Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we will be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, and other role players. Tune in every week for our latest episode. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today, I'm talking to Matthew Day. Matthew is the head winemaker at Kleyn Constantia. Welcome, Matthew, to About the Winelands.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for having me. It's a great honor to be on this.
No, it's our pleasure. I mean, you're the one spending your time to come and talk to us, and I'm sure our listeners will appreciate that. Matthew, how did you start in the wine business?
It's a tough question because I'm actually a Bali. I'm from Johannesburg.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, no, it's weird. A lot of winemakers that you meet these days actually aren't from the winelands. It's probably because all the people who grew up on wine farms realize how hard the work actually is, and they don't want to become winemakers. So it's us city Balis and all the rest that come down and do the job that no one wants to do, you know. Now, I grew up on a farm in the south of Johannesburg, and I absolutely loved farming, and I had this great passion for wine. So I decided to go study at the University of Stellenbosch. Which is a great stepping stone getting me into this career at Kleyn Constantia, which has been incredible.
Amazing. So, did you move from varsity straight to Kleyn Constantia, or how did you progress?
Because my story is quite short in that I've worked at Kleyn Constantia my whole entire professional career.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of started as a papesleper, a cellar rat, or a cellar hand, and worked my way up. I graduated at Stellenbosch, and in that time, as part of my prac, I did a harvest at Meerlist.
Okay.
I made a barrel of wine at Meerlist. I bought some grapes, bought the barrel and all the rest, and kind of bottled this wine a week before my interview at Kleyn Constantia. And in the time, you know, I worked in Australia, and then I worked at the wine cellar in Cape Town, and then I worked in France in Saint-Emilion. And then I just bottled this wine, and I walked into a job interview for a harvest assistant position. And I just bottled the wine, and I had a bottle of the Shiraz that I made, and I put it onto Adam Mason's desk. And I said, well, try the wine. If you like it, you can give me the job at Kleyn Constantia. If you don't like it, we can carry on with the interview. And that's how I started out as my first job at Kleyn Constantia.
Wow.
So I started off as a papesleper, then eventually after some time became assistant winemaker, where I was still a papesleper, or a cellar hand, and did all the hard work of scrubbing the floors and the tanks and all the rest. And eventually Kleyn Constantia was sold at the end of 2011. And I was very fortunate with the change. Adam Mason decided to move to Stellenbosch. He took the job at Mildebush. Mm-hmm. And the new owners that had just bought Kleyn Constantia said, well, Matt, you've been here a couple of years. We trust you. We want to give you all the opportunities that you can possibly have, and we'll give you a chance, and it's make or break. Literally prove yourself, and you can become head winemaker at Kleyn Constantia or find another job, basically. So I'm still here today, and loving what I do. So this has now been my 11th vintage at Kleyn Constantia. And wow. In those days, I was probably one of the youngest winemakers working at a top property in South Africa. I mean, I think I was 24 or 25 years old when I took over as head winemaker. So it's been a great challenge and a great path since then.
Well, that's amazing.
I've worked all over the world as well. I mean, I've worked in Tokai, I've worked in France and Sancerre, a couple of vintages. I've worked in Napa. So it's been a great journey. But you know, I absolutely love this place. It's a great spot.
Talking about the place, can you tell, I mean, I think our listeners would be interested can you share a little bit of the history of Kleyn Constantia and, you know?
Yeah, sure. So we can usually do the short version or the very long version. Very few people realize that, you know, the Constantia Valley has been around since 1685, you know, so we're one of the oldest New World wine producing regions. And we as South Africans should be very proud of that. If you
Mm-hmm.
think of Australia, you think of Napa Valley, you think of all other New World wine producing regions, they've got a great reputation, but they don't have the history that us as South African producers have. So, Kleyn Constantia formed part of that original farm that was granted to Simon van der Stel. It's a long story. We can talk about the old days. We can talk about production, the old sweet wine of Constantia that became super famous. But our motto at Kleyn Constantia is literally, we don't care about the history. It's more important to what the future is and how we can strive for kind of perfection going into the future, and ensure that we're here for the next 300 years. More recent days, it was revived by the Jooste family in 1980. They replanted all the vineyards. They recreated the Vin de Constance, which we're famous for, and they also planted the Sauvignon Blanc, and then eventually started to experiment with other varietals. So we're now doing the Method Cup Classique and Chardonnays and Riesling and all the rest. So we've got a great portfolio. And then, as I mentioned, current day at the moment, the farm is under new ownership since 2011, owned by two Bordeaux legends, Bruno Prats and Hubert de Bois. Hubert owns Chateau Angelus. Bruno used to own Costa Esnal. And then, we've got two other big investors, Stenya Piccolo, who's a Czech billionaire, and Charles Harmon, who's from the UK. So that's kind of where we are today at Kleyn Constantia. Everyone kind of knows where Constantia is. I don't think I need to say too much else about it.
No, I think you're right. People know that area quite well. And when did you guys actually start making MCC? Talking about that.
So they actually made the very first vintage was for the Millennium. And that was a fun experiment, and they only made it in magnums. We still have a couple of those bottles lying around. I've opened one recently, and it's a beautiful wine. So that was the year 2000, and then we started commercially in 2005. Traditionally, it was a Chardonnay Pinot, but in more recent days, we've changed over to 100% Chardonnay because the Pinot just didn't work here at Kleyn Constantia.
Okay. Wow. So where are most of your MCC sold?
So MCC for us is, it's a hobby, I want to say. It's one of those projects that, we have a lot of fun doing it. We don't make a hell of a lot of MCC. So the majority of the MCC that we actually sell is sold through the tasting room. We sell, a little bit in the trade in South Africa. We do quite a lot in the UK. We've got markets all over the world that take bits and bobs. So anywhere and everywhere, basically.
Just a little bit about your winemaking philosophy.
So Kleyn Constantia is known for the Vin de Constance, our sweet wine. Vin de Constance is a recreation of the great sweet wine of Constantia that was served to anyone and everyone in the old days. We're striving to make one of the best sweet wines in the world, and a unique style sweet wine in that it's made from Muscat de Frontignan and raisins, not botrytis. So that's what we're known for. We're fortunate to be in the perfect kind of area for making cool climate varietals. So we focus mostly on Sauvignon Blanc. We do about 10 different Sauvignon Blancs at Kleyn Constantia. We've got all sorts of different pockets and sorts of terroir. So that's the main focus in terms of a normal still wine. And then other cool climate varietals, we do the Riesling. Bubbles, we absolutely love because you can have it at every occasion. And when I bring people to the farm, we can take them up to the top, to the dam or to the viewing points and all the rest. You can crack open up a bottle of bubbles and they absolutely love it. So we make too many wines, but those are our focuses.
Okay, awesome. So September the 1st is Cape Classic Day and also Spring Day. So do you guys have any special celebrations planned?
Look, I have a massive one at the moment in that I've got a newborn in the house. my son is about 6 days old now, so 1st of September will definitely be celebrating his life
Amazing.
with a bottle of Kleyn Constantia MCC.
Remember the flowers, right? Remember the flowers.
Exactly. Actually, I snuck a bottle into the hospital for the night that he was born, and we were drinking Kleyn Constantia MCC in the hospital that night, which was pretty cool. We did the same with my daughter's birth, but it was a bottle of Bollinger, unfortunately. Yeah, so we decided we have to keep it local and lacquer.
There you go. Well, you know, congratulations. I mean, 6 days is yeah, I remember those days. This is fantastic. Just something different, more serious. The coronavirus has forced all of us to rethink our business models. Do you have any changes or new ideas in mind at Kleyn Constantia?
Because there's always a lot that we can change and do. Yeah, obviously, we're doing a lot more of these Zoom tastings. It's great. It means that you don't have to fly all over the world and take wine with you and meet up with people and taste wines. It's now become acceptable to taste and share our wines with people over a tasting like this, which has helped a lot in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that we can spread our scope with wine tastings. So that's a great benefit. The other thing that has happened, I mean, obviously we've opened up for business again and we're getting a lot more people through the door. But the other great thing that has happened is in the last, how many months has it been? I can't even remember.
5 months.
5 months.
Yeah.
We've had no distractions as winemakers and farm managers and viticulturists and all the rest. We haven't had people coming to the farm. We haven't had to travel overseas. We haven't had to, get out to the market purely because we haven't been able to. And 2020 is going to be an incredible year because the people who are actually in charge of making the wine have been there physically making the wine. Far too often in the wine industry, it's actually the assistant winemaker that makes the wine, and the winemaker is traveling the world and spreading the news. So this vintage is literally been hard work from everyone, and I guess we'll see that coming through.
That's quite interesting. So, Matthew, I mean, like you said, you've worked all over the world, although you've had a long stint as winemaker at Kleyn Constantia. What is the most important thing you've learned so far from your wine journey?
I actually learned this from an incredible winemaker that I worked with in Sancerre. His name is Jean-Luc Sorti. He was the head winemaker at Pascal Jolivet. Probably the most chilled out guy in the world. And he kind of taught me, life's too short. Far too often in the wine industry as a winemaker, we overcomplicate things. We worry about things that we can't control. His philosophy is pretty much like the French word, that's c'est la vie. Everything will be okay, provided that you have good grapes. So since my time spent with him, I've been a lot more relaxed in the way that we do things. And provided you tick all the boxes, you don't have to overcomplicate things and force a wine style. The wine literally makes itself. And you'll see it in the wines coming out. They're completely different, and they actually taste like a sense of place. And we as South Africans, or we as South African winemakers, need to do more of this, because we need to highlight where our wines are coming from, as opposed to making a style that tastes like everyone else. Anyone can make a Sauvignon Blanc, but can you make a Sauvignon Blanc that tastes like the terroir that it actually comes from? And that's what we should be striving for,
That sounds awesome. Can you give us your very own wine quote or MCC quote?
MCC quote. Well, the best wine quotes is, I've got two, but the one's going to piss people off. The one that everyone knows is, life's too short to drink bad wine.
Yeah.
The other one is, why is it that when you have one fault in your wine, they consider it faulty, but when you have numerous faults in your wine, they consider it natural?
That's a very good one, actually. Isn't that true of life in general?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Matthew, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate the fact that, like you say, you're busy, and things are obviously starting to get back to normal slowly, but it creates more work when people start arriving on the farm. So good luck with that. And yes, thank you for spending time with us and chatting with us and telling us more about Kleyn Constantia.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been great to share it.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description.